Outside the Box Reviews, we are taking a look at the NECA 2015 Convention Exclusive Retro Collection Friday the 13th Pamela Voorhees. I've said a few times before on this channel, when I've reviewed these retro Mego style figures, that they're not super appealing to me just based on the design of the figures themselves. I didn't have Megos as a kid, so it's not a nostalgic piece for me. But some characters, especially when they're characters that we don't get too often in action figure form, I definitely do want to pick up in this line, and Pamela Voorhees was one of them for sure. NECA had done a Pamela Voorhees way back in the Cult Classics line, but it's a character that hasn't been made into an action figure in many years. And while this piece was planned well in advance, it does seem like a timely release, seeing that Betsy Palmer, the actress who portrayed Pamela, recently passed away. So let's take a closer look at this figure. Pamela comes with a couple accessories. First up, she has an axe, which is very nicely done. I really like the look of this. A good wood grain going through the handle, nice silver on the blade, with a little bit of black detailing. You can even see the wood sticking up through the very top of the axe head there. A simple accessory, but nice. As with a lot of these pieces in this retro collection, it is a pretty soft plastic, so it's a very bendy piece, but it looks good. The sculpt on it is very nice, and the paint is well done. That'll fit right into Pamela's hand here, so you can just slide the axe right in there, and she actually does hold it pretty well, which is very nice. She also comes with her hunting knife, which is another very nicely done piece. Great sculpt on this blade, has a nice little kind of flare here at the tip. You can see the seam in the blade, the hilts, all very nicely detailed. Once again, very soft, very pliable, so it's definitely not what we're used to with the 7-inch scale figures, but a well done accessory. Pamela does have a sheath here on her belt, so you can actually take the knife and slide it right in there and store it on her waist. I must admit, when you are storing an accessory like this, I'm actually kind of glad it's a little bendable, because I've had several cases with other figures where knives like this will bend or break here at the handle just because it's too rigid and hits up against the figure's body. Pamela also comes with an alternate hand, so we could pop this one out and pop in a different hand with a tighter grip, so then she could hold the knife. Prior to this figure's release, I did see some mixed reactions on the head sculpt. It is definitely a very scene-specific head sculpt. NECA's done this in the past with some figures, where the head sculpt is less of a kind of generic head and more something that you could trace to one specific frame of film. I'm usually a little colder on those head sculpts, but I really like the madness they captured here on Pamela's face, with her teeth bared and her eyes just wide and crazy. I think it actually really works for the character. I don't really have any desire to have just a plain old Betsy Palmer figure in my collection, and I think the likeness is pretty spot on. The hair is really nicely done. There's some great multiple tones of brown in there, really highlighting the sculpt. Once again, the eyes are very nicely done. The teeth look great, as well as the lips. Flesh tone's not badly done either. Coming down the rest of the body, we have her sweater, which is iconic in the film. This is a very bulky sweater, as you can see here. It comes out a little too far around her. They had done a similar sweater with their most recent Freddy Krueger, with this kind of very quilted pattern. And while it looks very sweatery, I think it's a little too fuzzy for my taste. I don't remember it looking nearly this fluffy and Cookie Monster-like in the film, but it works well enough for what it is. It's detailed enough for what it is, but just not great. Here around the neck, you can see there is the collar of her undershirt, a plaid shirt. If you pull down the sweater, you can see more of the undershirt there. And oddly enough, if we take the sweater off the figure, we see that it's not a full flannel shirt underneath, but just kind of like a smock that covers just parts of the figure. I'm guessing this is to keep it from being overly bulky underneath the sweater while still giving the feel of the shirt. But I thought it was an interesting way for NECA to go with this. The hands on the figure are decently sculpted. Not a ton of detail here, as we've come to expect with these Mego style figures, but they look good enough. The belt is another soft piece around the waist. It's not a removable bit, but it does have a gold belt buckle. And it's basically just brown throughout the rest of it. It looks like you could pull it apart here, but it's just a glued seam. The sheath is really nicely done. There's some paint detailing on here to darken it up a little bit. There's some silver rivets and the stitching around the sheath, and it actually will slide across the belt, so you can reposition it how you need it. The pants are pretty bland. They're just black pants, but that's what she wore in the movie, so just plain old black pants work. Then down here at the feet, she has has some brown boots on. You can see the silver eyelets, which I also love that detail when you're doing shoes. Some nice stitching detail as well. But I still do wish for these figures they would give us socks or something, or just at least painted on socks, just to make it not look so odd if the pants pull up at all. For articulation, I must admit I was a little disappointed with Pamela here because the normal retro figures have upgraded to another body, but because I believe this is the first female body, we've gone back to a downgraded buck. The head is on a ball joint, so move side to side, a little bit up and down as well as tilt, so pretty good there. We have pin socket shoulders will go out to the side as well as forward and back. They are of course hindered by her sweater. The elbows are the absolute weirdest things I've noticed on this figure. On her left side, we get a decent bend. It's not quite 90 degrees, but it's a decent little bend there. And being very delicate with these because the joints are pretty tiny, if you pull back on this arm, it won't go any further. It stops when it reaches a full straight out feel. On this other arm, the bend is significantly less, and then if you bend it backwards, it will go quite a bit. If I tried flipping the arm around, it honestly looks like there's some weirdness going on where they're using the same arm mold for each side. I'm not really sure. It's hard to tell what's happening here, but I find it very odd that the articulation in the right elbow is different than the left. There is no bicep swivel or anything on this figure. The wrists will swivel as well as bend in and out, which is really nice, though it does fleck off a lot of paint when you move it. She has a cut joint here at the waist, so she can swivel side to side. There's no mid-torso joint or anything like that. The legs will go forward and back and out to the side, but we don't have any upper leg swivel, so it's really hard to get her to look like she's kicking forward or even stepping forward. We have a decent joint at the knee, about 45 degrees there, and then just a hinge here at the ankle, no pivot or anything like that. Another place where I feel this figure is lacking. So that's it for the NECA convention exclusive Pamela Voorhees figure.
The boy.
Who?
The boy, Jason.
Jason?
The one who attacked me, the one who pulled me underneath the water.
Lady, we didn't find any boy.
Then he's still there.
Oh wait, my bad. Yeah, my bad everybody. He was still in the package. Hold on, let me get him out of there. And yes, because I didn't just make the same damn joke a couple weeks back with that Ripley figure, this figure is actually a 2-pack. It includes young Jason, and I am super excited for this piece because this is the first young Jason officially released articulated action figure we've ever gotten. And as a huge Friday the 13th fan, this just makes me really happy. Young Jason comes with a couple accessories. Here we get a piece of moss. Really cool looking. It's a rubberized piece, green, a lot of good plant-like detail in there. And then this will just slide over his shoulders and give him the look that he's been in the lake for years and years, which is really neat effect. He also comes with a Camp Crystal Lake t-shirt. It's a little t-shirt, Velcros in the back, and you could put this on him and have him repping his camp. Granted, while this doesn't really work for the character, I guess having a half-naked character kind of would have felt cheap, so it's really nice that they gave us this. It is very weathered up and dirty looking, which is great, and it fits him just fine. Jason himself, of course, has a face only a mother could love. This is some great sculpting here. I love this. This just looks fantastic. Really well painted and sculpted. His eyes are a nice brown. His teeth just look gross and nasty. He has all the seaweed or lakeweed or whatever all over his head, looking really gross. And I kind of would have liked if we had an alternate clean head sculpt with all of that muck on him, but I still really like this head sculpt. I think it's a really nice representation of young Jason. Coming down the rest of the body, he does have dirt all over him, so he's not just a flat painted body, which is a problem I have with a lot of these retro figures, so it's really nice that they did take the time here. Character that definitely needed it. The arms continue that dirt and grime. We have some more of the weeds and stuff on his hands, which look really nice. The hands are a different color than the rest of the body, which really bugs me, but it's not the worst thing in the world, I guess. One thing to point out, however, is because Jason doesn't come with any accessories, I would have rather both hands look like this one, where it's open, ready to grab Alice in the boat, as opposed to this gripping hand that I'm not really sure what he's supposed to be gripping at this point in his life. Do have some blue swim trunks, which are kind of funny looking. I don't really remember what Jason was wearing in the movie. I don't know if you ever really even see him from the waist down and see what kind of shorts he might have been wearing when he was swimming, but these work well enough. Very dirty and gross looking. We even have a little pocket there in the front, which is nice, even though it's just a little flap. More dirt and grime coming down the knees, and then his bare feet. Really well done. For articulation, Jason has a ball joint at the neck. He doesn't have as much range of motion as Mommy, but it moves up and down, side to side, and tilts. He has a pin socket shoulder, so you can go forward and back, as well as out to the side. However, when I got mine open, this shoulder is warped and deformed. Kind of fitting for Jason, I guess, but you could see it's it's coming apart here and not making a very tight joint. I don't believe this is really going to be an issue unless the plastic starts to rip on me, but I might still contact NECA customer service and see if I can get a replacement, because that does have me worried a little bit. We do have a swivel up here at the upper arm, which is better than what Pamela has, a double jointed elbow, which is absolutely fantastic, a rotation at the wrist as well as a hinge. We have a cut joint here at the waist. The legs will move forward, back out to the side. We do have an upper leg cut, a single joint at the knee, and a hinge at the ankle. And here's our new 2-pack compared to 2 standard 7-inch figures NECA's done. On the left, we have the cult classics very early release of Pamela Voorhees from the Friday the 13th 2-pack, where she came with Sackhead Jason. And on the right, we have the 2009 remake Jason, though this figure came out a couple years later. And obviously Pamela is way too tall, but she is a vast improvement over her previous release. That other figure I still need to review, but she is freaking ugly. And Jason here, I actually really like the scale of him. I think he might fit in okay with your other Jasons if you're a 7-inch figure collector. Once again, this is a figure we've never gotten in any scale before as an articulated action figure, and I really don't think he looks too bad here next to his older self. And here these two are next to 2 other pieces from the retro collection. We have the NES Jason on the left using the Part 3 body, and we have the Part 2 version of Jason there on the right. So these are well in scale with the other figures in the line. As I said before, this set is a NECA convention exclusive for 2015. As of this recording, it's been released at San Diego Comic-Con and to select Toys R Us and Hastings stores, as well as some available from the NECA Club online store in very limited quantities at all of those places. I was lucky enough to grab this one at my local Toys R Us, and I really enjoy this 2-pack. Pamela is definitely the lesser of the figures, which kind of sucks because she's the larger figure, but she's lacking a lot of articulation. She feels a lot more fragile than I'd like her to be. I think in general this female body isn't up to par with what they've done with the male figures, especially the more recent 2.0 buck they've released for them, but she's decent. She's a good representation of Pamela. I really like the head sculpt. I might be alone on that one, but I think it's a really well done head sculpt there. But Jason is the figure that I love in this pack. The articulation's great. He looks great. I love that he comes with both the moss and the t-shirt. I have minor complaints with him, but overall I think that is the star of this package. And if I had absolutely no interest in the Pamela figure, I probably still would have picked this up for young Jason. But overall this pack does get a recommendation. If you're interested in it and you're watching this video around the time of its release, I would definitely try those avenues I mentioned to try to track it down. If not, you're gonna have to turn to most likely eBay or some other form of third-party seller. So the figure might be harder to get and you might have to pay a bit more. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also follow me on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been another Outside the Box Reviews, and stay tuned for more NECA convention exclusive figure reviews to come.